Peace and love to my babies, my darlings, and my loves. Let me share something with you. This is a video follow-up on a snippet of a story I shared in my last Gemini video. When I was 16 years old, I was standing in front of the cinema waiting for my friends to show up. It was supposed to be a fun afternoon, 1 o'clock matinee. I played hooky from school, we all did, but my friends never came. Something inside of me, my intuition now that I know, told me to leave, but I didn't. And within 5 minutes, I felt a knife pressed into my back. I was pushed into an alley and then into a house where 7 men were waiting for me. I'm not going to get into the details. You already know what I mean. But that moment changed me. And it wasn't the first time. When I was 12, someone in my family, or someone that my family, I should say, trusted, not my family member, someone my family trusted, took my innocence. That's where it really all began. From there, 12, 13, I spiraled, drinking, smoking, skipping school, and at 14, I dropped out completely. And my parents didn't even know for a whole year. My home? That was just a place I came to sleep. I showered in the mornings and hit the street. I wouldn't come back until the wee hours of the morning. I was a rebel and very rebellious, and no one could control me. That cycle didn't stop until I left Guyana at 20 years old. I think it was around 19 actually. But even when I came to the States, the behavior didn't change. I joined the army, and in the army, drinking was the norm. Everybody drank. Everybody popped Tylenols and washed it down because we all had trauma and we all couldn't sleep. And that trauma, it followed me into basic training. My drill sergeant spiked my drink on graduation night. They always knew which girls didn't have family coming. We were all vulnerable, and they took advantage of that. Later, at my permanent station, a man, a soldier, broke into my room. I thank God I was drunk that night. I was pissing drunk because I didn't feel anything until I woke up the next morning, and I knew who it was. I remember the face. That's the only thing I remember. Still, I didn't stop drinking. One day I drank so much, I knew I was going to die. That's when I turned myself into my first sergeant, and I was admitted into Fort Gordon Psych Ward and the alcohol drug rehab program. I was there for 6 months. It was around the holidays, so they didn't release me until after the new year. But when I went back to my unit, I went right back to drinking. I was good at hiding it. And if the army had found out, I would have been kicked out. Eventually, I did leave the military, honorably, but I was still married to the bottle. Drinking was a part of who I was back then. I didn't stop until 2021. That's when things finally started to shift. One morning I woke up and I said, I don't want to be sad anymore. I started painting, I started writing, I started meditating, and I started speaking. I realized something. My trauma was not me. It was something I had to walk through, to remember who I was. And I'm going to be very, very real with you. I used to wake up screaming from night terrors. And yes, I used to wet my bed. That's how deep the fear ran in my body. That's how much my nervous system had been through. I was constantly on edge, living in fear. I didn't want to sleep, and when I did it, it was never peaceful. I barely left the house. Even now, the only places I go, It's the grocery store, the doctor's office. I walk Benjamin. I do go on a vacation here or there, but I don't drive nowhere far or anything like that, you know. I visit my neighbor 2 doors down, and that's about it. Maybe something is still holding me back. Maybe it's the state of the world. Maybe it's my car. Most likely it's my car. I do want a new vehicle. I don't trust her to take me long distances. And I know when the time is right, I will get it. And maybe that will help me venture out further. What helped me most was facing all those horrible things, allowing myself to feel them, to cry for them, to cry for me, to mourn me. I cried more tears than I can count. But the more I released, the lighter I started to feel. I started to forgive myself, and I started to forgive others. Not because they deserved it, but because I deserved peace. I journaled like my life depended on it, because it did. And through that process, I found my voice again. So no, I didn't get over it, my trauma. I transformed through it. I faced it, I felt it, and I survived it. And baby, or babies, if you've been through anything, if you're carrying something heavy, please know this. You are not alone. You are not your pain. You're not broken. You are becoming. Cry if you need to. Scream if you need to. Rest when you have to. But don't stop and don't give up. Your story isn't over, and your healing, your voice, will help someone else find their way too. I love you all dearly. You take care, and we will chat soon.